Welcome to Pups Trainers Academy podcast, the show for dogs lover who wants to turn their passion into a profession. I'm Dexter Sim, and today we are talking about something every new trainer faces, the first client's consultation. You have got your certification, you have got the theory, but the door opens and there's a nervous owner and a certain dog, and suddenly everything you learn feels like it's flying out of the window. In this episode, we are breaking down exactly how to handle that first session without overwhelming the dog, the owner, or yourself. Let's get into it.
If you want to absolutely ruin a high-stakes pitch,
Mm.
do exactly what traditional business advice tells you to do.
Oh, yeah.
You walk into the room,
Uh,
you forcefully take control of the conversation, project absolute dominance, and immediately try to prove how incredibly smart you are.
Which we see happen all the time.
All the time. We are constantly told that a perfect first impression requires us to go in strong, right? To establish our value the exact second we open our mouths.
Right, the whole command the room mentality.
Exactly. But what if we've been looking at this entirely the wrong way? What if the actual secret to a flawless first meeting, like the kind that builds really deep, lasting trust, requires you to do the exact opposite?
It's a huge paradigm shift.
It really is. So, welcome to today's deep dive. I am so glad you could join us because we have a genuinely counterintuitive blueprint to explore with you today.
And it comes from a pretty unexpected place.
It does. We are looking at the psychology and the hidden strategy of a perfect first impression, but we are viewing it through a highly specific, totally unexpected lens, a dog training consultation.
Which sounds a bit out there at first, but it is a brilliant lens to use, specifically because it strips away all the usual corporate jargon.
Right.
It forces us to look at the raw biological mechanics of trust, threat assessment, and communication without, the filter of office politics.
So true.
Our source material today is a remarkably concise step-by-step guide published by the PUPS Trainers Academy over in Singapore. It's titled How to Conduct a Successful First Client Consultation Without Overwhelming the Dog or Owner.
Yeah.
And just to give you some quick context, PUPS is a premier certification center. Their entire philosophy is heavily grounded in science-backed positive reinforcement.
So they don't deal in any of those alpha dog dominance theories or intimidation tactics.
Right, none of that. They deal strictly in behavioral science.
And that reliance on behavioral science is why this text translates so seamlessly to human interaction. The principles of positive reinforcement, managing emotional thresholds, and mitigating stress, they don't just apply to our canine companions.
Because we're all mammals.
Exactly. They are deeply rooted in basic mammalian psychology. We all have nervous systems that react similarly to pressure.
And that is our mission for you today.
Yeah.
We're going to extract the brilliant, universally applicable nuggets of communication and trust building from this specific dog training guide.
So you can actually use them.
Yes, so you can apply these exact same principles to any high-stakes first meeting in your own life.
Mhm.
Whether you are trying to win over a skeptical new client, step in to manage a struggling team, or, just navigate a highly sensitive social situation. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
The guide breaks down a successful consultation into distinct phases. And right out of the gate, it makes a massive philosophical statement.
It does. The core theme of this entire approach is that a successful first meeting isn't about fixing everything at once.
Which is hard for problem solvers to hear.
Oh, it goes against all our instincts. But the truth is, if you try to fix everything at once, you will inevitably fail. The first meeting is entirely about establishing trust.
Just trust.
Just trust. That is the only metric of success that actually matters in the beginning. If you don't have trust, you don't have a foundation for future work. The behavioral changes, the strategic pivots, the solutions, all of those things are secondary to simply establishing a safe baseline.
And the guide insists this process of establishing trust starts way before you even knock on the client's front door. We are looking at phases 1 and 2 of the PUPS guide right now, which covers setting the stage and surrendering control.
Right.
Because you really can't establish trust if you start the relationship by invading someone's physical or mental space.
Phase 1 is literally labeled before you arrive, and the guide explicitly instructs the trainer to send a detailed preparation email.
Now, this isn't just like a simple calendar invite with a time and a date.
It's much more structured.
Very structured. It includes the exact arrival time, very specific requests for the owner to have certain high-value treats ready, and a short, targeted questionnaire about the dog's triggers.
And then we flow right into phase 2, which is arrival and greeting. The instructions here are incredibly strict. You arrive calmly, you toss treats from a distance, you let the dog approach you on their own timeline.
And there's a cardinal rule there, right?
Yes, in bold text, do not crowd the dog.
I was reading this and I immediately thought about human networking events. Oh, yeah. The worst.
Imagine you were at a crowded industry mixer where you don't really know anyone. You're holding your little plate of appetizers, feeling, slightly awkward.
We've all been there.
Right. If a total stranger rushes straight up to you, gets right in your physical space, and aggressively starts pitching their software platform, your brain instantly categorizes them as a threat.
You physically lean back away from them.
Exactly. You panic. But if someone makes eye contact from across the room, offers a genuine low-stakes compliment or, I don't know, a snack from the buffet, and then gives you the physical space to decide if you want to walk over to them, you're intrigued.
You don't feel trapped.
Exactly.
And if we trace the biology of that reaction, you're describing the physiological response to a perceived threat versus a perceived opportunity. When someone rushes into your space, your amygdala, which is the brain's threat detection center, it just fires up.
It's that fight or flight mode.
Yes. Your sympathetic nervous system prepares for fight or flight. But when someone gives you space and allows you to initiate the closing of that distance, your nervous system remains regulated. You feel safe.
But I do have a pushback here regarding that phase 1 prep email.
Okay, what is it?
Why ask the owner for treat requests beforehand? Like, if I am hiring a premier, highly certified professional dog trainer, wouldn't a professional trainer just bring their own magic treats?
You'd think so, right?
Yeah. Why put the homework on the client before you even get there? Isn't that asking them to do your job?
What's fascinating here is the underlying psychology of agency and collaboration. We have to look at both the human and the dog in this scenario.
Okay.
For the human owner, receiving that prep email does something critical. It lowers their cortisol levels by removing ambiguity.
Because ambiguity breeds anxiety.
Exactly. They know exactly when you are arriving and what is expected of them. But by asking them to provide the treats, you are subtly giving the owner a sense of involvement and competence before the session even begins.
So they aren't just sitting there helplessly.
Right. You are a vital part of this process. You know your dog's preferences better than I do. It shifts the dynamic from a passive consumer waiting to be rescued by an expert to an active partner in a collaborative process.
So it's an intentional transfer of power. It's kind of like when a consultant sets an agenda, but explicitly asks you to bring your top 3 strategic goals to the kickoff meeting. It forces you to engage and gives you a sense of ownership over the process.
The data strongly supports that collaborative approach. Now, let's look at the arrival strategy regarding the dog. Tossing treats from a distance rather than handing them out directly, that is a masterclass in behavioral science.
How so?
Well, when you hold a treat in your hand and force a fearful or anxious dog to come take it from you, you are forcing them into a state of acute emotional conflict. They desperately want the food, but they are terrified of the stranger holding it.
That makes total sense.
It causes immense internal stress. By tossing the treat away from you, you completely transfer the agency to the dog. You are saying, here is something good, and there are absolutely no strings attached. You remove the pressure of forced interaction.
Oh, wow.
And ironically, by surrendering that control, the dog becomes much more likely to choose to approach you safely once they realize you aren't making demands.
You are creating an environment where the other party actually wants to interact with you rather than feeling obligated to do so. So you've successfully entered the space. You haven't caused a panic attack in the dog or the owner.
Always a good start.
The next logical step is gathering the data you need to do your job. This brings us to phase 3 and phase 4, the interview and the observation. And the narrative through line here is the art of unobtrusive investigation.
Unobtrusive being the absolute operative word there. As humans, we're notoriously terrible at gathering data without actively interfering in the process.
We really are.
We want to touch things, we want to ask highly leading questions, and we immediately want to categorize what we see based on our own biases.
And the PUPS guide pushes back against that instinct completely.
Yeah.
Phase 3 dictates that you ask open-ended questions and listen far more than you talk.
Yeah.
And then phase 4 is observation. Watching the dog in their normal routine, absolutely, without intervening. But wait, I have to challenge this lack of action.
Sure, go for it.
If you were hired as a top-tier expert, right,
Yeah.
and you are charging a premium hourly rate, and the dog is actively acting out during this observation phase, maybe it's barking aggressively at the window or lunging at the furniture, isn't the trainer's immediate, overwhelming instinct to jump in and fix it?
It is so tempting.
Don't you feel the pressure to prove your worth right then and there? Like, look how quickly I can command this room and stop this bad behavior.
This raises an important question, and it cuts to the very heart of why so many professional consultations fail, regardless of the industry. What you are describing is the danger of the expert ego.
The expert ego. How does that actually manifest in a room?
It manifests as a deep-seated need to perform your expertise. It's the consultant leaning forward, interrupting a client mid-sentence, radiating nervous energy because they feel the ticking clock of their hourly rate.
They just have to prove they're doing something.
They feel the need to justify their presence through immediate visible action. But the guide mandates observation without intervention for a very critical reason. If you intervene too early, you are only treating the immediate superficial symptom, and you are destroying your chance to see the system as it naturally operates.
Because you don't actually know what's driving the behavior yet. It reminds me of a bad UX designer, like someone designing a website.
Oh, that's a great comparison.
If they see a user struggling to find the checkout button, the expert ego says, let me just grab the mouse and show you where it is, or let me just change the button color right now.
Right.
But if you do that, you never learn why the user was confused in the first place. Was the layout confusing? Was the text too small? You fix the symptom, but the underlying design flaw remains completely unaddressed.
That captures the dynamic perfectly.
Yeah.
Let's apply that back to the dog barking wildly at the door. If you immediately step in, use a loud voice, or apply a physical technique to silence the dog, you might look like a hero to the owner for about 5 minutes.
But you haven't solved anything.
You have learned absolutely nothing about why the dog is barking. Is it fear-based? Is it territorial? Is it frustration because they want to play? Or is the owner inadvertently rewarding the behavior with their own tense body language?
Oh, yeah.
Letting the normal routine play out, even if it's incredibly messy, even if it's loud and chaotic, is the only way to see the true systemic issues at play.
And there is a secondary benefit here that focuses entirely on the human client, right? The guide tells you to listen far more than you talk during the interview phase.
Which is so crucial for trust.
Think about your own workplace. When you are trying to explain a complex project bottleneck to leadership, and your boss constantly interrupts you to offer premature solutions before you've even finished explaining the problem, you feel entirely dismissed. You get defensive.
Which completely shuts down psychological safety. When you allow a client to fully explain their struggle without constantly interrupting to offer those premature fixes, you are building their confidence. They feel truly heard and validated.
It shows respect.
It does. If you constantly jump in to show how smart you are, you inadvertently make them feel foolish for not having figured it out themselves. You are subtly shaming them.
Which destroys the exact foundation of trust we just spent phase 1 and 2 trying to build.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've observed the messy reality, we've listened to the client, we see all the complex problems, and naturally, the human reaction at this point is to pull out a whiteboard and provide a massive, comprehensive list of solutions to fix every single issue we just witnessed.
The infamous 10-page spreadsheet.
Yes, but the PUPS guide pivots hard in the complete opposite direction. This brings us to phase 5 and phase 6, which I am calling the power of radical minimalism. Here's where it gets really interesting.
I love this part.
Phase 5 is labeled one small win. The explicit directive is to teach one behavior only during this first session. The source specifically lists things like hand targeting, simple name recognition, or a basic treat scatter. That's it. One tiny thing.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, what the PPS Academy is expertly managing here is cognitive load.
Cognitive load, okay?
Yeah, cognitive load refers to the amount of working memory resources used by the brain at any given time.
When a client, whether it's a dog owner dealing with a reactive pet, a corporate manager facing a department restructure, or a student falling behind when they are facing a significant problem, their prefrontal cortex is already overwhelmed.
They're maxed out.
The stress of the situation means their cognitive capacity is literally maxed out. They do not have the neurological bandwidth to process complex new information.
They are already completely overwhelmed before you even open your mouth to offer a solution.
Exactly that. So if you, as the expert, dump a highly complex multi-step training regime onto an already stressed owner, you are guaranteeing their failure. You are pushing their cognitive load past its breaking point.
The brain just shuts down.
Their brain will just shut down the new information. The brilliance of the one small win is that it completely circumvents this neurological bottleneck.
Let's look at those specific examples from the text. A treat scatter. That is literally just taking a handful of kibble, tossing it onto the grass, and letting the dog sniff it out. It's almost absurdly simple.
But psychologically and physiologically, it is profound. Sniffing naturally lowers a dog's heart rate. It engages their olfactory system, which forces the brain to shift away from the amygdala's panic response and into a calmer, more focused state.
That's incredible.
So you are physically calming the animal down, but more importantly, for the human owner, you are guaranteeing a successful outcome.
Right.
The owner cannot mess up tossing a handful of food on the ground. The dog cannot fail at sniffing it out. The session ends on a positive, easily achievable note. It proves to the owner that progress is actually possible, which reinforces all of that trust you've been carefully constructing.
It's engineering a victory. You are artificially lowering the bar so that success is the only possible outcome. And that success builds the momentum and the confidence needed for the actually difficult work that will come in the weeks ahead. And that brings us to phase 6, the take-home plan, which does the exact same thing for the days following the consultation. The guide dictates a strictly one-page plan containing just 3 things: 1 management change, 1 exercise, and 1 observation task.
Super concise.
You are giving them homework that takes 5 minutes, not 5 hours. Reading this, it reminded me so much of getting a prescription from a doctor.
How so?
Well, think about going to a specialist for a chronic health issue. If that doctor hands you a massive packet of information and prescribes 10 different pills, like some you take in the morning with food, some at night on an empty stomach, some every other Tuesday, you are going to fail.
You'll give up almost immediately.
Right. You'll do it perfectly for 2 days, get completely overwhelmed by the logistical complexity, and just give up. But if that same doctor listens to you and gives you just 1 pill and says, take this with your morning coffee, you can do that. It practically guarantees compliance because it fits seamlessly into a routine you already have.
The mechanism there is identical. A novice expert tries to prove their vast knowledge by making things complicated. They want you to see how much they know, so they give you the 10 pills or the 10-page spreadsheet.
Yeah.
A true master proves their knowledge by distilling the complex down to something remarkably simple and executable. The PUPS guide understands that a perfect plan that the client abandons after 2 days is infinitely worse than a very basic plan that the client executes consistently.
That distinction is so vital. It's not about what you know, it's about what the client can actually absorb and execute. And that brings us perfectly to the absolute core philosophy of this entire document. After outlining all 6 phases from the prep email to the 1-page plan, the PUPS Academy guide ends with 1 overarching directive.
Golden rule.
Yes, the golden rule. Leave the owner feeling capable, not corrected.
Capable, not corrected.
Right.
It is a profound mandate, and frankly, a deeply empathetic one for any leader, manager, or consultant to adopt.
So what does this all mean? What does it mean for you, the listener, as you navigate your own complex, messy world? It means that whether you are stepping in to manage a struggling team at the office, whether you are trying to help a close friend through a personal crisis, or whether you are consulting with a brand new client in any industry, your ultimate goal in that first interaction shouldn't be to show off how smart you are.
No, not at all.
It shouldn't be to rapidly fix everything in sight to justify your presence or your paycheck. Your goal is to make the other person feel capable.
Because if they feel corrected, they feel defensive. Their threat response activates, and you become an adversary. But if they feel capable, their nervous system settles. They feel empowered to actually partner with you to solve the root problem.
You set the stage by removing ambiguity. You surrender control to build agency. You observe without the interference of your own ego. And you engineer 1 small, undeniable win to prove that progress is possible.
That's the roadmap.
You build the trust first. and the solutions follow naturally from there.
It's a fundamental shift in perspective, which leaves us with this final thought to consider. If a highly successful first interaction, like the incredibly effective, science-backed one outlined by PUPS Academy, relies almost entirely on lowering the stakes, stepping back, and deliberately doing less, how many of our everyday interactions are failing simply because we are trying
Episode
far too hard to prove we
was
have all the
brought to
answers right
you
from the
by
start?
PUPS Dog Training, Singapore trusted dog training school with over 23 years of experience. Whether you're a new trainer, finding your footing, or a seasoned professional sharpening your client's skill, remember, every great training journey starts with a single good consultation. Visit pups.com.sg or pups.sg to learn more about our program and the PUPS Training Academy. Thanks for listening to PUPS Trainers Academy podcast. If this episode helps you, share it with a fellow trainer who is gearing up for their first consultation. Next time, we'll be talking about how to handle that client setting, boundaries, and managing difficult clients. Until then, have fun and stay positive.